Flying Monkeys Wargaming Podcast, where if wargaming was easy, it'd be your mom. Shemaine knows Bam here, and I have assembled a cast of characters this week. This group is affectionately named and self-titled the Wolf Council. So a lot of us all have managed to get into the top 10 of ITC for Space Wolves, or had some success for Space Wolves, or being renowned for playing them. So we've been getting together and getting list ideas and trying to tackle Arks of Omens, and having a lot of fun doing it. So we decided to get together and quote Jaime, talk shit about Space Wolves for an hour. So
Ooh.
so that's our goal tonight. So let me introduce you to the guys we got here. If you're watching the video, the handsome lad to your top left, Mr. Hunter Nichols. What's up, Hunter?
What's going on, fellas?
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Give me a little bit of your background playing Space Wolves, man.
Man, the Space Wolves were the first 40K army I ever had when I was like in high school. And then I got out of the hobby, came back, and the first army I went to was Space Wolves because I love the lore and they're badass. And had a really good year 2 years ago. I got best in faction Space Wolves. Came down to the wire between me and Mr. Jaime. And yeah, it's been that was a LVO finish. It was how we did on the last game, the pick to who got the best in faction that year. That was not this current season, but last season. It was a lot of fun.
Badass. I loved watching you guys slug at each other to get those points. So since we've been talking about them already, Jaime, how'd you get into Wolves, man? What you think? What's the background on it?
I started playing 40K in 8th edition with Ultramarines, and Mr. Thomas Bird taught me everything I know. And for 2 years, I could not beat him for the life of me because the mirror matchup, he's the best Ultramarine player in the world. So I started dipping into Wolves, and I started beating him, and I fell in love with combat. Fast forward a year and a half, and here we are. Like, Wolves is... I did dabble in Tyranids this year just because team events and Wolves were crap. I was a little bit of a filthy trader, but Wolves is where my heart's at. And as Hunter mentioned, I'm the number 2 Wolves player. And that's it. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
If it makes you feel any better, I think all of us got Nid curious last year because I won a GT with Nids as well. So
yeah. So I'm kind of worried from going from a 20-inch move back down to a 12-inch move. It might feel slow, but I'm sure we can figure it out together.
Absolutely.
Jaime, if it makes you feel any better, everyone still thinks you won Best Space Wolf.
I don't think so, man.
No, they do so much. I get some people's like, yeah, man, Jaime's a great player. You ever met him? I'm like, yeah, we're good friends. They're like, yeah, he's the best Space Wolf. I'm like, yeah.
No.
I think it was your run at Charity Hammer with the Wolves that really put you on the map there.
Probably,
Yeah, that's right.
Giving everybody hell. So
hell yeah.
And chiming in on the bottom right, not his first time on this podcast. He's actually won some big wins with the Wolves. Scott Rumpel. What's up, Scott?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Scott and I actually got to meet one of my internet friends finally last weekend. So it was Scott. I've known Scott probably a couple years now from having him on the podcast. I got to meet him in person at LVO finally, and I was pretty happy about it. So
yeah, it was an awesome weekend.
So tell me how you got into Space Wolves, Scott.
So ironically enough, it's kind of a similar story to Jaime. So when I came back to the game at the end of 7th, I picked up Ultramarines because, they're on the box. And one of the first tournaments I went to, I played a mission with the Relic. And I think it was a guy playing Custodes, took the Relic into a building, and I had a bunch of shooting units. And the next day I told myself, I'm picking up a melee army. So I still wanted to play Marines. So it was Space Wolves.
Nice. Oh, dude, I don't know. I've always called Space Wolves my main chick. It was, I started playing this game in 94 and, I've had many side chicks along the way.
Born in 94.
How, well, you said you're born in 94, Jaime?
No, I was born in 99.
So my youngest daughter was born in 99, by the way, just so you know. But yeah, I started, a buddy of mine and I started playing in 94 together when I was in the Army, and Space Wolves was my first love. I remember, I don't know if you guys ever look at the old paint schemes, but the red ass bolters, that powder blue and the stripes, the first time I saw it, and I'm like, them dudes got fang and fur, I'm on it. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
It's been with it ever since, got the tattoo and managed to
That's
Oh,
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Last season, I got a best overall at a major, so I did pretty well. And I've won Best Space Wolves every year in the Lord Marshall Conference since 2016. So as long as you guys stay out of the Midwest, I think I'm okay. But so there's all of our backgrounds of Space Wolves. You know, there's some other players out there of note, but I think we've assembled a pretty good crew to represent our faction. And there's a lot of people optimistic about Arks of Omens. I'm kind of on the fence. There's some stuff I like. There's some stuff that once I get on the table, I haven't been necessarily happy with, and I might need some more play testing. But overall, if anyone feel free to jump in. What's your first impressions of Space Wolves and Arks of Omen?
man, I'll be honest. It's after taking a break from the Wolves for a little bit, it feels like there's potential. I kind of feel like towards some in the last season, and even I had some frustration on the year I got Best Space Wolf. You'd run into that brick wall where you just could not win against certain lists. And I think just the initial, some of the things GW's done, or some of the Arks of Omen initial releases kind of play into some of our strengths and let you really build maybe a list the way you want, that is pro Space Wolf, so you don't have to waste points on some things that were holding us back. And even, I mean, just some of the free weapons are really uh really big to our strength. A power fist in a iron hands list does not equal the same as a power fist in a space wolf list, and a free one at that can really do some damage.
Agreed. What's your take, Scott?
Oh yeah, I'm so excited. So I may have been the only person that didn't jump ship this year.
Way to call us out there, man.
No, I totally get it though.
That's unnecessary.
I was counting up my games in BCP. I played just under 100 tournament games this past year with Space Wolves, and it felt like every game you had to try really hard to be competitive. There's no easy matchups. There's no auto wins. You don't get to coast through the first round of a GT. You got to try every time. So I am so excited. The list I have been running before making any other adjustments just dropped about 230 points or so. And that's not taking the new efficient stuff. So I'm very, very excited.
Good. Yeah, that was I always explain playing Space Wolves to somebody. They're like, "Well, you did really good with them." I'm like, "Yeah, but you're always skating uphill. Like you're just constantly skating uphill." And I would win games with 2 and 3 models on the board, and the games I'd lose would always be like 6 or 7 points, and I just didn't have enough bodies. And I'm hoping that that's kind of been solved. So, Jaime, going into Arks, what's your thoughts, man?
So I am yet to play a single game of Arks. I just came off LVO. I've been busy with school. So I haven't played a single game. All I've been doing is list building. And the list that I'm currently building, every single one of them, I've built 20, 30 lists so far. Every single one of them a year ago would have been a wet dream. Every single list, I'm like, this is it. I don't need anything more. I've got everything I could possibly have. I've got every answer for everything. I do not see how I will lose with one of these lists. So this weekend, I'm going to start playing, start seeing where I'm wrong. For the amount of customization, the amount of options, the amount of free, random little war gear that I think is going to make the difference, I think is huge. And there's a ton of potential. I don't know what the meta is going to look like. That's one thing I want to talk to you guys about is what do other factions look like? What do other armies want to do? And see how we can respond. But I'm excited, man.
Yeah. I have the same feelings. Like I said, I've won a lot of games with 1 or 2 models left on the board. It was like, and the ones I lost, it was just, I just never had enough bodies to do what I needed to do. And like now, I think all of us at one point in time ran the melt drop pod, the pretty standard melt drop pod. And now like I'm building lists where I have like a melt drop pod and a unit of long fangs with the Terminator and las cannons. And I'm like, oh, I can outrange Land Raiders now. I can, or not Land Raiders, Lehman Russes. I can shoot stuff across the board, and I can put this Terminator with all of his gear and cover and take these, saves at 2-ups, and just stuff I just couldn't do before because I didn't have the points to do it. Like I'm like I almost have like a analysis paralysis because I've got so many options. And
Yeah.
that's something I've been struggling with. Um, so I'll fire off. Let's do it this way. If we get a roadmap, let's start out with like what we think are our winners or what we think will be the list stables, and then from there we can maybe go into some matchups and what we think the meta will be. I think universally, for those that weren't privy to it, we've done a lot of discussion out of this podcast. I think all of us universally agree that like Sky Claws are probably the big winner out of this book. Has anyone got anything different to say about that?
Nope.
No, they're definitely
just-
in there.
When you make a Space Wolf list, it actually automatically puts at least 2 units of Sky Claws with 4 Meltas and 2 Power Fist in. It's crazy.
I put 1 Power Fist, 1 Hammer on the Wolf Guard.
Yeah, if you
Just
got
in
the
case you want
points.
to damage 3. It's free.
Absolutely.
It's free.
Yeah, the
It's free.
Wolfguard pack leaders are busted.
The Wolf Guard pack leader is a melt and a hammer for 20 points, man.
Yeah.
You don't pay for the hammer.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Battlescribe
he's-
had an error. Battlescribe had an error where it charged you 10 points
Yeah.
in both the points document and the new Battlescribe. It's free.
And
Yeah,
Battlescribe's
my bad.
also charging 10 points for the Terminator hammers, which aren't supposed to be either. So.
Yeah, it's almost like putting a Space Marine captain in every one of your squads.
Man, there's something beautiful with being, most people successor chapters with the 2 double exploding 6s and +1 to hit. There's something beautiful about that one dude left, and people like, oh, it's just one Marine. You're like,
Yeah.
One day.
Yeah. Watch
one
this
day
guy
they'll
roll a
bring
couple
back
6s
Wolfguard.
and see what you're gonna think. So
it's like,
Yeah.
ooh, 2 6s. What was I hitting again? Make 10 saves.
yeah.
Have fun.
Dope. Well, yeah, that's I pretty much my loadout has been I've been throwing a hammer on the Wolfguard battle leader and giving him a combi melta. And then like I said, the 3 meltas and then the power fist. And and then I look at it and it's 110 points. And I'm like, bro, like this is crazy, man. So
4 fast attack slots, right? Like you're not losing elites, you're not losing like your heavy supports. This is a complementary unit that can now trade into almost everything pretty damn efficiently.
Yeah.
Dude, think about it. That unit you can chapter master it, put it in assault doctrine, fling it up. It will bust open a transport and kill
Give it +1 to wounds and give it and shoot the target with Mordecai Teeth Bolts. You're killing screens and small vehicles. And honestly, if you roll like a monster, Lehman Russes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing before. If you look at it as, I know a lot of people are still stuck kind of on Wolfguard, and I am less big on Wolfguard jump pack units now because I think about what I spent on points for Wolfguard jump pack units before. Just to have the guys with the storm shield, the lightning claws, and then one guy with a thunder hammer and a melta. It was like 57 or 160 whatever points. And I would bounce off of armigers, or I'd bounce off of a Helvern sometimes, and I'd be so pissed off. And like I look at these Skyclaw units, and I'm like, there's no way you should be able to bounce that. Like it's like that thing's killing an armiger now. That thing's killing a small knight now, and I'm pretty happy about that. It's 110 fucking points. So.
And it also, I think, before we start going down way down, I know let's try to focus on fast stuff, but you talk about like that's a shooting and a melee unit.
Mm-hmm.
That is a unit that can, like, if you want to, you can blast one unit and then charge a different unit, and like you can take out 2 squads with that one unit.
Yeah.
Relatively.
If those melters go off, man. Hitting on 3s, rerolling, wounding on 4s or 3s against the targets you want to shoot, rerolling 1s. 2 or 3 go 4, 3d6 damage +6.
And that's if you didn't keen senses it,
That's if you didn't that they hit on. Add the chaplain litanies and so on. It gets ridiculous.
But so yeah, one of my first Arks games I played against Grey Knights, and it was that exact scenario. So it was Wolfguard, but for less than 140 points, you get 5 dudes with jump packs, a hammer, 4 claws, and 5 melta guns. So you put Chapter Master on them, they go forward, and exactly like you said, they shot 1 strike squad, no save, they all hit, roll 5 2s, okay, they're all dead. Charge a different squad, and they're all dead. For that cheap. Every list I starts with the 3 Wolfguard and the 3 Skyclaws. That's
Nice.
30 bodies with 27 melta guns and ludicrous melee for 700 points.
Fast moving, cheap
Yeah.
enough. You don't care if they die.
Yeah, you
All right,
still
look,
have
today-
1,300 points after that.
So
Yeah,
the Horus Heresy weapons kits, like that, there's 10 melta guns in each box. So I've already been trying to round those up and be like, how many melta guns do I need? So
Oh, that's right.
yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
And
I need to get to my bits.
Yeah,
The
so I had a buddy who was a Sisters Bat player too, who gave me a bunch of melta guns. I got to scrape the Fleur de Lis or whatever off of it. So Scott, you like Wolfguard. So
Oh, yeah, I'm still very high on Wolfguard. I won't leave home without him. You know.
yeah.
But-
So you
but-
two, Hunter, what are you thinking?
It's the same. It's literally the same concept. For 137 points, you get, just like he said, 5 combi meltas, 4 lightning claws, and a thunder hammer.
Yep.
And I don't know if you can find a better bang for your buck.
No.
For 137 points. That unit is, nobody wants to be shot by that unit, and nobody wants to take a charge from that unit. And it moves 12 inches. It can naturally deep strike. So you start looking at tables, you're never looking for that 9-inch charge. Honestly, I probably start, depending on the table and the terrain, with all my Wolfguard up in deep strike.
Yeah.
Move my sky claws are who I'm throwing out first, and then the Wolfguard are going to kind of honestly just replace where they're at, just so they don't get, depending on terrain and to get shot and stuff.
Well, if you got Chemical Hate off of the Chaplain too, they're gonna get a decent charge on deep strike too. So
Yeah.
you can, and there's always that, if you need to in a bind, but it's just I just think, man, and you start getting to the elite slots. I think my Arks of Omens list, I'm hitting 6 elite. I like the elite slot detachment. There's arguments for fast attack, and there's even arguments for heavy support if you really want to get spite with some stuff. I honestly don't think you can go wrong with any of the 3 choices.
well, while we're here at elites, let's just knock out the rest of the elites and talk about them.
Was there anything in fast attack that just before we?
That's true. We did start out fast attack
Because that's where we started with Skyclaw.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I like, dude. I'm still a fan of because tornado land speeders now are 70 points, and you get an assault cannon and a multi melt on that. It's a decent toughness, fast body that can be super annoying, and you can cut down both. A lot of T3 bodies pretty easy. For elves, and I think we're gonna see some more GSC now that GSC's kind of gotten their secondaries fixed, and mass bodies. And of course, elves are always going to be on table where you get, and then just having a free multi-melta to go pick on stuff sometimes is pretty dope as well. So I like land speeder tornadoes, which I think you can bring in unit. I always like at least having one Cyberwolf. I don't, it's super annoying to people, but it's great for, things like, Custodes deep strike in the single knight on a 40 millimeter base, keeping a dog tucked away somewhere so they can't. Keeping them out of your corners, keeping them out of your deployment zone.
Yeah.
You will always get your 15 points out of a
Yeah, you will.
And especially now, right? Especially now that everyone has reserves, everyone's going to be putting units into strategic reserves. The fact that you can send up a dog for 15 points and just do the same as an infiltrator squad, just push them back 9 inches, is huge.
And Oaths going back, he can, with player plays terrain, which is what I predominantly play on, you can put that building, 5 inches away from the center, so you can get the dog behind the wall, 6 inches away. You put him near some Wolfen and some fights last, and he's going to get you 10 points all on his own.
Yeah.
Just being a good boy, being the best boy.
Exactly.
I think that's the Space Wolf question right now is, do I take 3 Skyclaws or 2 and a Cyber Wolf, or do I do fast attack and 3 and 3? Like, I don't think you can go wrong.
Yeah,
with fast attack.
We're spoiled this time around. Last year there was one list. This year you're going to see lots of different versions of it.
You guys might have sold me on Wolfguard though, so I might be back to 2 Skyclaws and a Cyberwolf, and then.
But Wolfguard get better, because if you think about Skyclaws, 110 points, 4 meltas, a power fist, and a thunderhammer. Wolfguard for 125, it's 5 meltas and all of them with power axes and still a hammer. So now they're all strength 6. Now you're wounding T3 models on 2s with +1 a wound. You're wounding everyone on 2s except tanks. Like, although Skyclaws are so good. The fact that you've got other options in fast attack, just use your Wolf Guard disposably now. For 125 points with a bunch of strength 6 attacks and 5 melters, they're what we wanted in fast attack a year ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So back to fast attack, and where are you guys at on Thunderwolf Cav? I've played some games. I'll give you guys my opinion first, I guess.
Sure.
I've played like 2 units of 3. I've played 3 units of 3. I played a unit of 6 and a unit of 3. I played a unit of 6, and I just can't. They don't seem to do what I want them to do. The base size seems awkward. They're hard to hide. They're hard to maneuver. And sure, you can advance and charge, but I don't like to have to Leroy Jenkins something every time. And they just seem to die, and it just seems like a weird footprint for a weird unit that I can't seem to keep alive. And I commented on it in the podcast last week, and someone told me I was silly because they're doing well with them, and I'm just like, man, they just don't seem to be doing well for me. So am I off base there? Or are you guys finding the same thing?
No, for 35 points, they're really, really good on paper.
Mm-hmm.
You get on the board, there's some random container they can do nothing about. There's a forest that subtracts 2 inches, and then the base is too big, and now you -2 to charge because you ended in the forest. You hit a screen. They're great for their points. That profile is incredible for the points, but on the table, they fall apart.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm gonna say, I agree, Jaime. For the points, you're getting a T5, 4 wounds, 2 up. Like they hit a lot of good high points. I ran a little RTT with them a few weeks ago with the new rules. I enjoyed it. I felt like I got exactly 105 points out of them and nothing more. And that's what the points for the unit is. I outflanked them every game, or strategic reserved them every game. And just kind of, if someone ventured into my deployment zone a little too close, like on the flank, great, they came in and had an easy charge. But honestly, they were just a little skirmishing unit. They're just so close. If they could go through a building, they're in. Their base size is just too big.
But that's the thing, right? You can't drop the points anymore. You drop the points and you start breaking the game, right? You cannot make them cheaper.
Give them,
but there's nothing.
Yeah, give them breachable.
I don't know if they had infantry at that same profile, they might be busted.
Exactly. But you know what? I think, don't demons have some, like, can't they make it to where their cornlet or whatever, the corn guys can go through the building?
Oh, the blood crushers.
Yeah.
Can they?
Yeah.
There's a way you can make them fly. Yeah, I think with Bellicor or something like there is a way that they get fly. Heads up, don't get gotcha'd on that.
Yeah. Well, that's my thing too. Is you get the big fat base. I'm not sure how many millimeters that base is.
It's like a 60.
Yeah, and then just like going around a building or going around a corner just to clear it sometimes for a charge. It feels like an extra 3 or 4 inches.
Mhm.
It's just I don't know. I'm not a fan of them.
Yeah,
and like I said, I like them on paper, but when I got them on the table, they just didn't feel great. I'd rather take bikes.
Yeah, the points are perfect for them, but the what's the word I'm looking for here? The rules, the interaction is not. That's what
the execution's not there.
Yeah. So, but there's going to be someone out there with like 3 units of these things, and they're going to run wild.
And do it. Anyone listening, if you're playing your Thunderwolf Cavalry, play them. They are not bad. It's just for like optimum competitors lists.
Mm-hmm.
There's something else they need. But like for 90% of the way, play them, dude, as much as you can. Finally, they're playable. So just do it. Enjoy them.
There's nothing I would love more than to have like 15 Thunderwolf Cav, all the Fenrisian wolves, and like Logan Grimnar on a sled, and somehow make this like a chaplain on bike, and like that's the list. I would love for this to work. But
speaking of which, Fenrisian wolves, with Skyclaws being so good, do you think we're gonna see much in the way of Fenrisian wolves?
I don't know, man. The Cyber Wolf is just so much better.
Yeah,
Cyberwolf wins out on the points.
If you'd ever told me that we'd be fighting over fast attack slots in the Space Wolf, I'd have told you you're crazy.
Now, what would be really cool, GW, if you're listening, for a Space Wolf rule, is that like characters should be able to bring like a Fenrisian wolf with a no force org slot. To me, that makes sense.
like shield drones, but
Yep.
actually good.
But as part of the unit or no force, like the company vets.
Yep,
Well,
that'd be awesome.
Ragnar used to have 2 wolves that came with him. He used to buy him his war gear. So that was back before you kids was playing, I guess. Jaime.
I've got the model, man. I've got the
Back
model.
before I was born.
He's like
Yes.
this. Got his gun and like a sword. This is Ragnar.
And the growling pose. So, do you think any Space Marine fast attack choices would gel well on a Space Wolves list? While we're at it.
I feel like, and my big thing when I'm looking at like Space Wolf list and Space Wolf in general is I try to see what is our strengths versus like what makes our units the best and how do we get our best strengths into those units, because there's going to be other chapters that like suppressors or outriders, ATVs and stuff like that. I just don't think they are what we need.
Right.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I really haven't even been screwing with codex choices, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a good spot to talk about Inceptors. When the points came out, they were busted.
Oh, we were gonna have a real tough choice there.
They were a perfect profile for us.
Yeah.
Between being able to use keen senses to advance and shoot, that damage 2 strength 8 or damage 1 horde clearing, it was a perfect unit for us to have. And I was really sad when the points got reversed, but I'm glad they did because it would have broken the game. Everyone would be running 12 Inceptors.
Yeah, I pulled them out of the closet and put them right back in the closet. So
I bought 2 boxes between points coming out.
2 boxes isn't too bad. They'll eventually come around again, so you're good there. It's the guys that were out buying 4 boxes of them that probably feel a little jaded or robbed.
Yeah.
Well, I guess last call for fast attacks. You guys got anything you want to add or put in there?
I mean,
Scott, you mentioned bikes, right?
I like bikes.
Yeah, I haven't been messing around with bikes, but even if you're going to run 3 fast slots with arcs, like let's pretend you're going to make a wolf list with 6 fast slots, you probably just run 3 sky claws, 3 Fenrisian wolves, and you're maxed already. Cyber wolves, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. What about outriders?
It's just 5 points. It's not as good Thunderwolf Cav.
Yeah.
And they also have an awkward profile, physical profile, in my opinion.
Yeah, very valid point. That's it.
Yeah.
That's my answer.
And unless they're an assault doctrine, you're not really doing shit with in most instances, anyways. So
yeah.
I mean, back to Bam's point, the speeders aren't terrible. I ran speeders for most of last year, and they're cheap, they're fast, they have good guns. If you have bad terrain or an open middle board, you can throw it away into the middle for oaths, but compared to the other stuff, it's still sky claws and cyber wolves.
Would you go master artisans if you're running several tornadoes?
I don't know if it's worth it at that point. And that's what I was running this year. And it was nice to have the reroll on your Melta, but now we're in a world where you have so much Melta.
Meltas.
Yeah. So I'm switching back to Born Heroes.
Yeah. I like it. I tried last year. I tried Warded and Whirlwind of Rage, of course. I tried Master Artisans and Whirlwind of Rage, and I always kept coming back to Born Heroes because I like it. But I was running 3 units of Wolfen, so I liked having the production out of them when they're charging. So it's But all right, so that's we've beat up the fast attacks. Let's roll back into elites, and elites is kind of a target reach environment, man. Like I said, you guys were big on Wolfguard. You might have talked me into it. I'm gonna have to look into it some more, but
you have
I
to.
still, Wolfen didn't get any points changes, but I still love Wolfen. I think you still should at least have 2 units, in my opinion. But
I agree with you there.
Yeah, I love Wolfen, and I think a lot of it depends on the terrain. That you're on like a heavy terrain table, absolutely, man. Throw them in there.
Yeah.
I start getting to my points in my elite section. I don't think you can go wrong with Wolfen. I mean, they're giving your Sky Claws a reroll, like that 12-inch bubble for your Sky Claws even helps the torpedo even more for the reroll charges and such. Wolfen will still kill anything they touch, and it's beautiful to see. The thing is I just start getting to my points crunch in the elite slot. I don't think you can go wrong with Wolfen. I think this is where you're going to get to the area of how do I want my list to play, and I'm a fast player, so I like my Wolf Guard with I got 6 units with a 12-inch move before I get to characters, and I'm good with that. That's how I like to play.
Yep.
Wolfen really help in the mirror any type of combat match. Any
Demons, Blood Angels, Mirror, World Eaters.
Those are my like. I'm gonna.
They'll
win
also fuck
don't
up
have
them
any-
annoying Dark Angels Terminators too. So,
Yeah.
God, I mean, I even killed like whatever the Terminator bricks, the chaos with the -1 wound thing. I was like,
Yeah.
Wolfen, go get him.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
giving Wolfen rerolls is kind of busted in that regard.
Yeah.
If you get to play Thousand Suns or Chaos, just you're dead. Doesn't matter what you
Yeah.
are.
Here's mine.
Against
Yeah.
Chaos? I thought it was just Thousand
I think it's
Suns.
just Thousand Suns.
No, there's the Marine strat to give any Adeptus Astartes unit against any Chaos unit.
Shut
See,
up.
that's why he's on the council, man.
It's situational, but because a lot of the Chaos can turn off your rerolls anyway, but
yeah.
it comes up sometimes.
Yeah, I like Wolfen just because when I go to play the Custodies and they can't hold their breath long enough to ask me if I get rerolls, I can just tell them no. Like,
They get so many attacks. It's honestly
Yeah.
like doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're dead either way.
It's like
Yeah.
our keen senses this unit. I really want to kill you.
yeah. Dude, that Keen Sense is hitting on a 2 when you charge. Ooh.
Oh, here's
Spicy.
a few 6s.
Yeah. Then if you want to use Savage Strike, I mean, they can hit and wound anything on 2s. It's just for 145 points, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, I
Death
think
to the Traitors. 1 CP using the fight phase. The Adeptus Astartes versus Heretic Astartes. Reroll hit roll.
Oh, you can say, I mean, we cuss on this podcast.
I thought it was core. Dang. Okay.
Yeah,
Dude,
it's the only two
Scott-
ways to get Wolf and rerolls.
Scott bringing the tech tonight, man.
Oof.
That makes me so
the-
happy.
The other big thing with Wolfen that I like now is, we've always been capped at basically 6 elites, and we still are, but the new loophole is the character elites. They
Mhm.
have their separate choice. So I'm really excited to bring Judiciar into the list.
Yeah.
Because if you get Wolfen with a Judiciar near an objective with the fights last and the intervention, it's your objective for the game. Or they're going to
Right.
really have to commit to nudge your 200 points off of it.
And then you still fight on death. Just like
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. They have to put in multiple units, and yeah, it's all bad for them.
Well, like
It's
you
so
said too,
bad.
on player placed, unit of Wolfen living in the middle of the table is a big deterrent from even going near the middle of the table.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah.
6-inch heroic intervention out if something decides it wants to go toe the other side of the objective. I love them. So,
Mhm.
talked enough about them maybe. So, you guys, we did hit Wolfguard earlier. Do you guys want to hit any more points on Wolfguard before you get something else?
no.
I think we hit it. It's
Yeah.
how many Wolf Guard versus Wolfen you want to bring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the Judiciar, Scott. I every time I try to do it, someone tries to talk me out of it, but I like him, man. What's your thoughts on the Judiciar?
Oh, I mean, the only reason I didn't take him before was the slots, and it was because you had to have your Wolf Guard, and for me, I had to have my Wolfen, and that was the end of elites. But now that he's got his own special slot, he, at least to start, he's going to be in there, and I'm really liking playing with him. He's almost better than Armor of Rust because you get the 3 inches, so you don't have to be able to intervene. It's easier to get the fights last on who you want it on. And for the
Yeah.
points, I think, what is he, 65, 70 points now?
75.
75? Yeah, it's totally worth it.
Yeah, I guess, and I'll give a little tech here to some people too. I don't think people realize you can heroic intervene without. All you have to do is move closer to whatever you're heroic intervening. And some
6
people think
inches.
they mistake that you have to move into close combat with that thing. So like the
Yeah.
Judiciar, one thing I imagined with him is like if he's within 6 inches, doing his heroic, just enough to use his 3-inch, fights last gimmick and keeping him alive. And that's something I don't think people count on or will realize, or you might tell them about it and they forget it. And
Yeah.
that's a neat little trick, I think people. And then of course you're gonna get the judge call because they're gonna argue with you about heroic intervention, but you're right. All it
Mhm.
says is you have to be within the distance to do the heroic intervention, and you have to move closer to the model. It does not
Yeah.
say you have to end up in engagement range.
Correct.
So,
And the
Wow.
Judiciar's fight last is 3 inches, right? So like
Right.
you move a little closer, put him within 3, fight last, Wolfen kill him. Like it's so good.
yep.
He's
But yeah, even with just 5 Wolfen, you can literally bubble wrap him that he's unchargeable, and anything that charges the Wolfen, you can make them fight last.
Does that work with 40 mil bases?
have to look at because those are big bases.
Yeah, because I mean, you have to make the circle tight around them, but yeah, it would work
Mm.
But I
because
feel
his
like
range is
3-inch fight last and a
inches.
40 mil base is less than 2.
yeah,
So there's no way to be outside of 3. Okay, yeah. So you have to like pedal wrap
Base
them,
them.
right?
you make
Yeah.
it a tight circle, but even if you have one guy play in the back, sort of behind the Judiciar,
Yeah.
you can really keep him safe.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys can see, but this is going to be my Judiciar here.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Could you find any bigger axes, Jaime?
is that Fafnir?
No, I cannot. Yeah, it is. Yeah. He's got
Dude, I'm
another
a-
little axe on the back.
Nice.
Yeah, I feel like
Dude, I like it.
I've ran the Judy for when I got best. Like every time I've run him, I've always gotten my 75 points out of him.
Yeah.
And if you're in the mirror, any close combat mirror or fight, he gives you an edge. He helps when you swing wide. And if
Yeah.
you're playing against like a shooting army that doesn't have any indirect and he's not going to do anything the whole game, he can just go get you oath points or sit in the back and
Completely.
he can sit on your back objective and go.
Yeah. And we're thinking defensively, offensively between the Armor of Rust and the Judiciar, you can do 3 charges, and as long as they don't have fight first, you can do 3 uninterrupted combats.
Mhm.
Well, and you can get crazy with it. You can do like your charge that your first activation that cannot be stopped, right? You can do Armor of Rust someone, you can Judy someone, and then if you swing with any Wolfen after that, let's say you got 3 units of Wolfen, you don't really give a shit if they interrupt the Wolfen
'cause they
because
fight
they're
on
going to
death.
fight on death.
Yeah.
So you get a 6 swing, and there's really
Add a
not
whirlwind
much
in
they
there.
Yeah.
And I
But
can
we're
do
not even
another
talking
fight
about
last.
and then a librarian with what is it, Murderous Hurricane?
Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
another
You
fight
know, it's like
Yeah.
so you could completely be like, I don't care if you're emissaries or whatever.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this one. So
Yeah. That's
I do think that's one thing that's cool is the countless options to we just counted 6, I guess, to fuck with the order of fighting. And that throws so
Yeah.
many armies off. Like Blood Angels.
hate it.
Blood Angels are used to like Leroy Jenkins. I'm +1 to wound everything it dies. And then when they Leroy Jenkins out, they get into it with the wolf units, and you got 3 or 4 things screwing with the orders that they're supposed to be fighting. All of a sudden, like that plan doesn't pay off. It's not worth it then. So
And I did so many Blood Angels because they were really hot when I did Wolves, and it was just funny. I was playing against a guy, great opponent, the New Orleans Open, and like he got his position, and I had just everything kind of set with my heroic bubbles to go around, and kind of like you said, the Judy and Wolfen and Armor of Rust, and he kind of looked at it. He took about like 10 minutes in his movement phase. He goes, "I can't charge you." Yeah, like I've given you a problem that you don't have the answer for.
yeah.
He didn't have a whirlwind. He had no good answer than like angel sacrifice for one thing. And I was like, yeah, and I'm about to charge you next turn with I'm swinging
Mhm.
6 wide. So
And trading Sanguinary Guard for Wolfen is not a good trade either.
yeah,
So
great, do it.
it's-
Come on. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all right. So what else we thinking here in elites? I know Wolfguard Terminators getting free war gear. I love the idea. I'm having troubles implementing it in the list. What have you guys found?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same problem with fast. Like, yeah, they're good. They're good on paper. If you have them, run them. But if you want to talk about the most optimized, you're going to run into elite slot cap against Wolfguard with jump packs and Wolfen. And that's if you're running 6 slots. So I don't know. They're too slow for me is my number one thing.
So that's kind of where I'm at. What do you think, Jaime?
So the problem with me for Terminators is every Marine player out there is going to be running to Squad of Infiltrators. If you're not, I don't know why. And that kills you Terminators because they're too slow to go up the table. They're not tanky enough to survive in the open, even in cover, even with a Storm Shield. Like, yeah, it's cool, but like they still die. and they're as 10-man bricks. You've overcommitted to delivering them into combat, even with 10 melters and 10 hammers. As ridiculous of a load as that is, it's they're not going to make it in against Marines. Marines are going to be everywhere. Everyone is going to be running screening units, because with strategic reserves being free, you have to be able to somehow dictate your opponent's reserves. If not, you're just going to auto lose against demons. So I think too many people are going to be focused on screening for them to work.
I'm not mad, because cyclone missile launchers, like just free cyclone missile, is not a bad thing.
Sure.
Like you'll get your points out of that. If you run a 5-man unit of 165 points with cyclone and kami melter or kami plasma and power fist, thunderhammer, whatever, like you want to gear them with, or even storm shields and stuff.
Completely. Just not my playstyle, too slow,
Yeah, they're not bad, and I played them. It's kind of cool. It does give you something that can shoot chaff well with the cyclone missiles and combi bolters. I just feel like it kind of comes back to that first mentality I came with in the beginning, was other Marines can run Terminators better than we can.
Yep.
Thus, like that Space Wolf Guard Terminator really wishes he had he was inner circle.
Yeah.
Just to be fair, he's not as good as a Dark Angel Terminator, so he's
Agreed.
not benefiting my list as much as Wolfen or Wolfguard. You're not, like I said, not wrong. I'm sure someone's going to do well with them, but I feel like it's not the most optimal.
Yeah. I think, I think a lot of stuff too is like a good general can play with a mediocre unit and make it perform above what its water level is supposed to be. So I'm sure someone out there is going to make Terminators work and be like, fuck you guys. But I just, like I said, I think with Space Wolves, you got to hit fast and you got to hit hard, and they just don't seem to be durable enough to be as slow as they are.
Same thing. They're just the same thing as Thunderwolf Cavalry. If you got them, play them, enjoy them, they're good enough. They got enough of a boost to be playable and mildly competitive. It's just, again, there's better options.
Yeah, they're probably like a B tier if we were actually doing a tier list, but
not even A tier, right? But like we need to be milking those S tiers wherever we can, because we are not an S tier faction, and you can't be slacking on your units.
Yeah, agreed.
But I will say, I think an elite choice that's close to a Terminator for you to consider is the aggressor unit. I really think a 6-man aggressor unit for 180 points, you will get your money out of it.
Yep.
That is a unit that's what, T5, 3 wounds each?
Yep.
T5, 3 wounds.
That you can combat squad. They've got the Gravis keyword. You can just outflank, strategic reserve them for free.
Yeah.
And man, nobody wants to be punched by, what do they got? 4 attacks each? 5?
They're base 3. They go to 4 with Shock Assault.
Like, with Power Fist too. Like, no one's enjoying getting into melee with that unit.
No.
And it shoots enough to kill the screens that we talked about earlier. It's a skirmishing unit that if you combat squad them, each one's 90 points for 3 of them.
Yeah.
Come on, you don't even care. If one dude's left, he charges like a character, he may kill that character.
Completely.
And so what did you say? It's a almost like a captain, but with a power fist out there and a lot of shots. So
yeah. They're really, really good.
I don't know if I have the elite slots left now. So I have to see if I can make it work. But I do think the way to play them, you'd have to walk them on the board. I don't think they're going to get where they're going if you start them on the board. So
I do think you're going to have to either strategic reserve or deep strike stuff. The one thing I found with all these new units is you can't hide stuff as easily as you could last year. Before, I could put my whole army on the board and against,
because you had nothing.
Yeah, and hide everything to the point that if I didn't go first, nothing got shot. But 2, 3, maybe 4 more units, it's harder to hide that stuff. So deep or outflanking, strategic reserve, whatever. It's you're definitely going to need to do it at least some.
And to that point, I liked what
now a horde army.
Yeah, I liked what Hunter said earlier. I always think of my army as waves, and looking at your sky qualls as your wave one. Maybe your wolf guard deep striking coming down as your wave two. Something walking on the board as your wave three. Just I've done a lot of that, and it kind of mitigates what targets people have to wipe off the board. And you
Yeah.
got stuff that's kind of hanging back and scoring. So
Yeah.
any other elite choices you guys think are notable or noteworthy, or?
Do we talk about dreadnoughts? Because I think the meta is not going to let you play dreadnoughts,
I know.
even though we have some of the coolest dreadnoughts in the game.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's time for them right now.
Even with the reducing damage and like free frost shields,
Yeah.
there's still a lot of like sister meltas floating around out there. And then
Yeah.
listen to us, we're talking about how many melta guns in a list. Like
Yeah.
it's like cool. Here's your D6 plus 2 minus 1.
Yeah.
And they're like 8 wounds, right?
9.
Mhm.
9 wounds.
And
A
if
couple good
you're playing
melta
against
shots.
guard, you'll never
Yeah.
make it.
Yeah.
Like you'll
No.
never get there.
Because you could do triple Redemptor, triple Wolfen Dreadnought, or Venerable Dreadnought if you have the points, because they have a 6 Philippine, which is nice. It's really cool. It's not time, man.
I promise
Yeah,
you I'm going to roll a 1 on those plasma shots every time with the Redemptor.
Sure, it doesn't matter. You just take the wound, right? It doesn't really matter.
No, I meant on the number of shots. So
Oh
Yeah.
my god! Every single time.
that gun shouldn't be a D6 gun, man. That gun should be like a
D3 plus 3.
D3 plus 3. Yeah.
Everyone else has it. Look at
Codex,
look
baby.
at guard D6 plus D3 plasma shots.
Yeah. With guard, iron hands, all the other shooting armies out there right now. I mean, as cool as they are, I just don't think the meta is right for the dreads.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Other units that kind of caught my eye is like Blade Guard vets are close, but I think aggressors just beat them in points and do the same thing, if not maybe better. I've heard about some Centurions kind of creeping, but I don't know. I think other armies just do them better than
Yeah.
us.
And Centurions aren't core either, which kind of,
Oh,
yeah. So that just kind of throws them off the table for me in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
Hounds of
Like,
Mordecai
yeah.
would be great if they could forward deploy.
Yeah.
They got really cheap, didn't they? Like 17 points a model or something.
85.
Yeah, it's 80. It's 80 points for a squad. Oh, that's reverse.
Mordecai
Where?
5 more points. 80.
Okay.
Like, yeah, it'd be great if they could forward deploy. I'd probably put them in.
I like their ability. I just
Mhm.
my problem is getting them to where they can use it, or getting to where I need it on the battlefield. That's the problem. So
My thing, Jaime, I was going to ask you about. You talk about fast attack, or what about scout squads and speeders? Because Jaime,
we
you were
didn't
like
talk
the,
about squads.
you were like the king of it.
Let me.
Like,
So here, let me show you my lists here. Can I flip my camera somehow?
yeah,
Yeah.
probably
Okay. I'm on Battlescribe checking all our units and everything. So here are my Space Wolves list, right? We have Unleash the Wolves, the Wolf Guard, Aggressor Wolfen, Perfect Wolves, and Mission Play Triple Scouts. If we open this list right here, we have in our elites a Judiciar, 3 Scouts, 3 Wolf Guard. Each of these scouts has either meltas or missile launcher meltas, and then the Scout Sergeant with a Kami Melta Thunderhammer for no reason whatsoever. Oh,
it's
man.
free. It's free.
It's
Cookies,
free.
man.
It's free. It's free.
Yeah.
It's free. It's free, man. It's so good. I
So-
think they're really, really good because I think Space Wolves, their biggest issue will be secondaries. Iron Hands have incredible secondaries. Blood Angels will be better at secondaries. Most factions have really good secondaries. Behind enemy lines is a secondary we can score very well between wanting to charge, between being able to consolidate 6 inches for 1 CP, or having the chaplain for the plus pilot and consolidate. There's a lot of ways for us to score behind enemy lines. Your Cyberwolf can outflank. You can spend the CP on what's the stratagem for Space Wolves? Cunning on the Wolf. They let you come in on the back end.
Yeah, and
If you wanted to.
players
outflank.
edge.
Yeah, Scout Squads can outflank for free, which lets you come in on any table edge. I think that's a really good secondary for us to build for. And Scouts for 60 points, scoring you 3 points a squad, basically, is really, really good. I think.
I
I don't know
like
if you
it.
agree or not.
No, if you want to go that way, you can 100% do it because it opens up so many other secondaries. You know,
Mhm.
if you want to build for it, things like R&D, you're going to get 12 every game, no matter what.
Yeah. My question is, do you have to build for secondaries with wolves or not?
Well, I think that needs more testing to get the answer to.
It's kind of like the funny
Yeah.
like Starset Trooper meme where they got like the hand and the knife through it, and it's like you don't need to worry about secondaries. The opponent's dead. You know,
Yeah.
can't roll his dice. You don't have to worry about it. So
Right.
there's some validity, and yeah, there may be some scout play coming up in the scout speeders and the scout out, even just like you Javi said, just the scout outflank is just.
I have 2 land speeder storms in there just so I can do it turn 1 and turn 2 without having to worry about people screening me out. Because turn 1, turn 2, you can't come in turn 1, and turn 2 they should be screening you out. So if they are, I've got 2 speeders in there just in case, and the third walks on. But if we can't do enough damage, if we're not crushing our opponents in the first 3 turns, I think I might have to play a mission focus list. Sadly.
And that's one of the things I know. Going back to fast tack, I was using the tornadoes to get things like that.
Yeah,
you know, but I like I didn't even think about free war gear on the scouts. That's ridiculous.
They should never be getting into combats. Your scouts will never charge. But the fact that you can put a hammer on a scout and suddenly you roll 2 6s and the guy hits you with 6 hits, it's like a scout sergeant.
I don't know how much you guys track the Space Wolves lore or into it or not, but it used to be the scouts for Space Wolves were elite choices because basically the scouts,
ones, right?
They were like the old guys that just decided that was where they're going to go. Their path was there, and so they were the scouts in the Space Wolves chapter were like the more experienced guys versus other chapters were like they cut their teeth, So
because you did Blood Claws as the initiate, equivalent to the scouts everywhere else. Then you went to Grey Hunters and you stayed there unless you were picked to be a wolf guard for your wolf lord, and then eventually you moved to Long Fangs, and then you go to scouts when they want you to just die.
It was so awesome though. Back when I first started, those scouts could do like a free outflank. You could come as close as you want, then melt the bombs. So if your opponent was on the back edge, like we're talking long distance ago, it was like, okay, here's a melt a bomb, and that suicide scout squad would blow up anything it touched. Awesome.
Oh man.
Other elites that you can always talk about company veterans for just cheap. Everyone should like those if you can get points in and put them in a no force organization slot. I kind of like the company champion a little bit for just depending, and we're getting to however many points you have left, for just another free character to kind of go.
Do you invest anything else into them? Stratagems, relics.
You can do bare bones for 60 points, and that dude's just kind of like the Judy that I talked about, where like if you're in a shooting heavy list with no indirect, he'll just sit on your back objective the whole game, and they'll take assassinate, and you go cool, and he's just gonna they're gonna hang. You're gonna have like 3 or 4 characters just hang out, make them come to you. If he has to fight something, man, like no character wants to go fight against the company champion. You could give him Rights of War. You could give him Hunter. There's things you could do to him. I'm not saying he's a must take, but he's got like 6 or 7 attacks, like just bare bones.
Yeah, I've given him a Warrior Born and thrown him in with my Melta dudes. And so when people go to best of the Melta guys, he can harass them. But I mean, it was more fun. I don't think I do that for tournament lists, but so I like it too. I like it. I just hadn't found a way to fit him into anything yet, so I hadn't gotten incredibly serious building list.
But kind of like what we just talked about, Jaime, I'll be honest with you. You may have just convinced me to take him out and just bring in a scout unit for the outflank and play the mission behind enemy lines.
Completely.
I think that'd get me more.
Same argument, right? If your opponent doesn't shoot, your scouts can hold the objective, right? So, and if your opponent does shoot and it's going to table you, you can score secondaries. But then the company champion outflanking for free can also score you behind enemy lines. And it's a single base.
Does he get it? It doesn't have to be. It's not like engage where it has to be.
No. Just a unit.
Something to be said, man. It's something there. And
something there.
Yeah, it's awesome that we get to have these conversations and get to make these choices for once.
Right? We have choices, options, opportunities.
Everyone bringing 90% the same list. I don't think you can go wrong with Like I said, the fast attack or the elites, whichever one you want for the 6th slot.
Yeah.
Get after it, and you could kind of build your list any way you want. I went with a very MSU style. I wanted to swing as wide as I possibly could.
Yeah.
For my style, I'm gonna play test
Yeah.
a lot this weekend, and we'll see. But
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of validity to wolves right now. I don't know if y'all want to segue to like another.
Yeah,
we can do
let's-
troops. Troops is a quick
Yeah,
one.
let's hit troops real quick.
I think
2 infiltrators done.
Yeah,
Move on.
agreed.
Find the points, put them in. One,
Yeah.
it's 1 minimum, 2 very
Ideally.
possibly.
No disagreement on any of that. Just put those in. It's only
Yeah.
200 points. There you go.
Yeah, so from there, I do think, I've looked at doing like assault intercessor spam. I've looked at like impulsor spam with assault intercessors. And the guy with the thunderhammer in the squad might kill something, but they're not going to be as killy as you can do other builds.
Mhm.
So like I was like, but every time I come back to the one unit I come back to is definitely at least 1 unit of infiltrators.
Yeah.
Ideally, my list have had 2 of them in there because between you have 2 infiltrators and a cyber wolf, people can just get the right fuck out of your backfield in your deployment zone.
Exactly.
Like, it's just, they're
Yeah.
never going to be back there. So unless they walk their butt over there or jump pack their butt over there, that's
Yeah.
it's not.
Well, the other
happening.
thing that's really cool with the troops now is with the sticky objectives, you can deploy them in a way that you really force your opponent's hand. If you go first, you just say, oh, these middle objectives are mine now. We're going to, walk behind a wall or guerrilla tactics off the board. And now they have to walk into the middle and they can't charge onto it. They can't shoot you off. They have to walk onto it to take those objectives from you.
Yeah.
So that's why I want at least 2 units of troops.
Yeah.
That I think will probably be the sweet spot, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't complain if I had to take 1 more unit.
Yeah. Okay. So to be fair, honorary mention, intercessors. I had a lot of success with the 10-man brick where you gave them +1 a hit, +1 a wound, full rerolls hits, and then 2 CP to double shoot. It was 60 shots plus 4 grenade launchers at range that hit pretty hard. And now they've gone down to 180 points with all the free upgrade and Thunderhammer. They were cool. It's just, with demons running around, maybe they're cool. We already have aggressors.
I was going to say, how does that compare to an aggressor squad?
It's the same points, right? 184, 10-man versus a 6-man. Volume-wise, it's 60 shots for 2 CP versus 36 plus 66, which is, what's that? 20. So 50, 56 shots is roughly the same volume of shots. One costs 2 CP, one doesn't. One's at 24-inch range, one's at 18-inch range.
Thing is talk about like the demons,
30-inch range
stuff. I think you'll get more out of the infiltrators.
Yeah.
Than you will the intercessors. Even though the intercessors will shoot, yeah, like I'm with you. It's a lot of shots.
Yeah. I guess if demons are a huge problem, just run 4 squads of infiltrators right for the points. And it's like you're done. Oh my God.
So my
They're
big
not going anywhere
question-
near.
My big question for you guys is, as we're creeping up the battle scribe list, is HQs. How many do we take? I think this is where the wolves, like I've heard some people say, every character you can take because.
Okay, before that, do you want to do heavy support because that might be faster? Characters we're going to spend the rest of the podcast on.
Yeah. Okay.
I like how everyone took a deep breath and I said characters because I feel like we're gonna have 4.
I'm not ready, man. I'm not
That's
ready.
the finale. That's a good finale because I think
That's
we all
a
got a little
good
bit
guy.
different philosophy there.
Tune in next week for characters.
Yeah. I do long things. I know I mentioned that out the gate. Long things are the big winner.
Mhm.
I think if you're gonna do Meltabros, you need to Meltabro them in the drop pod. And remember that you can throw that, power fist on your leader now.
And a common
And-
melter.
Yeah, and a Kami Melta.
Also, plasma.
My only issue with the Meltapod is every Marine faction is going to start their list with 2 squads of infiltrators. So
Sure.
there's going to be, I don't know. I don't like walking them on nearly as much. The being in Melta range is really what you need. So maybe you don't go all Melta. The Grav is really good. Free Grav.
Mhm.
Why not?
But if people put out the infiltrators to screen out your Meltapod, send up two Skyclaw units, you will kill both squads of infiltrators and just bring the drop pod turn 2 or turn 3.
It's a fair point.
Like, you can now go kill infiltrators. It's amazing. It's so good.
I think, look, and I'll be honest with you, the long fangs, like, I love the, like, I'm looking at a grab unit for 115 points. Yes, sign me up. I've got a unit like the Terminator guy in it with a cyclone missile launcher is just, chef kiss for the points.
Yeah, but it's 33%, a third points increase on the squad. You go from 115 to like 160 or something.
I got
once you like fully get
I
out.
see 149 with but I'm running mine with 4 missile launchers and then a guy with the Terminator.
Sure, so no multi-melta.
No, that's the missile squad. Well, I like anything sitting on your back objective to put the Terminator guy in. Anything that you're going to outflank, whether it's the Grav or the Melta squad.
Yeah.
But
see that.
Yeah. If you got points, man, there's just something to be said about 3. Even if you have the points, the 3 Longfang units with 3 Terminators in it, that's a lot of shots.
I like missile launchers now because Armored Contempt went away. So AP2 actually means something now. And then also have the ability to shoot, troop bullshit, with the D6 missile shots. On top of being able to crack armor, crack tanks. I love las cannons again. If I could just get average rolling on the damage, I'm all right. But having five las cannon shots, and then the missile launcher off the Terminator. If you focus on a target, usually you're gonna at least hit a couple 5s or 6s in that gimmick and hopefully put some good damage on something. I've been pretty good at popping rhinos and things like that with them. So that's I'm a fan of all of them. I think depending on what you want to do, like I like Grav. I don't have any of the Grav models. Well, I lie. I've got the Grav models unassembled. I just got to get them built if I want to use them. But I like the Grav profile. But for what I've got built, I've got missiles built. I've got las cannons built. I've got melting guns built. So
I really like missiles. Just like you said, if someone is brave enough to deep strike on you, like I'll spec scan. With 6 frag missiles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can cherub the Terminator Sergeant, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So he pumps out 4 shots. Yeah.
If you do run, well, you're gonna run it anyway, but you also got to take, I think, the Eliminators with the Morkai bolts, at least one.
If you have Wolfen,
yeah.
Or if you're gonna lean into the heavy, the heavy slots, and you're shooting a lot, getting reroll 1s on those las cannons, those missile launchers, the Grav, that's all valuable there too.
Yeah, if you're going heavy on the shooting, for the same points you can get a regular lieutenant, and your shooting's not fast moving, so they're always going to be around your lieutenant regardless. And then you can shoot at multiple targets. Morkai only lets you delete one thing.
Yeah, that's true. I just think it helps your Wolfen, the Eliminators with the move, shoot, move. They're not only there for the reroll 1s. Those last fusils can put out damage over the course of a day, of a game.
I feel like, and maybe I'm just not playing it right, because I agree with you that the Morkais is awesome. I feel like my Eliminators, when I play them, are either just so good at playing the mission that they die. I'm just like flinging them up there, forward deploying and screening. It does sound good to fire and fade them the whole game in your backfield and shoot. I just feel like I've always used mine forward. Maybe I'm not playing them right. So it's hard for me to invest a CP in a CP very limited edition, if you will, on the Morkais, because I feel like my guy just dies.
Yeah.
It all just, depends on the game, the terrain, and all of that. But I've found if you've got going forward groups of Wolfguard with 5 Meltas and hammers and claws or sky claws, and they can shoot at those guys that are in your face, or you got to shoot at the dudes with +2 to cover that maybe only a few units in your army can see, hiding near the mid or even in the back of the board. They just don't get shot unless they're like the only thing to shoot.
Sure. I think the big debate for the other heavy support, talk about long fangs, is
Eradicators.
Yep. Eradicators for
Yeah.
the next. Do you bring them?
I've got them in almost on my lists, just because guard. Like a 3-man can sometimes pick up a Lehman Russ on their own. So I've got them in on my list, but like it's hard.
I was playing with 2 long fangs, 1 missile, 1 long las cannon, and then a 6-man eradicator squad, which you combat squad. So then technically you have 2 eradicator squads.
Yeah.
And I like them. And like I said, if sometimes too being able to use the Space Wolves outflank where they can come on your opponent's board table edge.
Mhm.
You know, you catch some people slipping because they get used to not protecting their own table edge because people don't usually strategic reserve walk on that sucker. So
Yeah, and 24-inch range Melta already with a +2, right? It's
Yeah, that's the big thing. They got cheaper, and they're always going to be in the D6+2,
Yeah.
which I really like.
And just kind of like, I mean, we can already see how we're like all going around. It's like we agree on like so much stuff. It's just when you're making your list and you're looking at your points, I don't think
Yep.
you can be really wrong on anything that we've suggested.
no.
You know, I think if you get the general gist of what we're saying is like, look,
Yeah.
man, like
Pick
my
whatever
list
you
right
want.
now has got 3 long fangs in it. I could very well see a list with 2 long fangs and eradicator. Just depends on your points where you kind of.
Yeah.
And I think that is where my excitement lies. Is like for once we have like not just like this unit's the one we have to spam because it's good right now.
Mhm.
It's like we have so many good options.
Oh yeah,
And it's been a long time. It's been a long time since I've broke open that book and been like, man, I don't have enough to take whatever I want. You know, it's like before you had to take stuff you had to take, and now you're at a point where you can make the like this fits my play style better.
Yeah.
You know, like Jaime and Eradicators, that might just be how he plays.
Yeah.
You know, and where I can be like long fang heavy because that's how I play. You know, we actually for once have like good list building options that kind of tailor to what we want. Whereas if it was funny, there was one point in time where like all 3 of you guys are on the list of dudes that I usually check your list at tournaments, you know, and watching BCP. And there was one time last year where like all of us were almost running like the same exact shit. It was like you could have just carbon copied any of our list. And what was funny is like all of us were playing in different regions with different metas, and we all like dialed down to the same units out of that book.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that like the way it is right now, you're gonna see like probably similar stuffs within list, but you're gonna see it more tailored to the guy playing it as far as what he wants to do, and that's fucking fun, man. That's badass.
It's great, man. It's healthy. It's healthy for us, man.
Yeah,
It is good. You know, I think the big message right now is find what you like. And if you're really trying to be a very big competitive Space Wolf player, like do what the chapter, what goes well with the chapter. Because what may be good in like an Iron Hands list, or what may be great in an Iron Hands list, may just be good in your list.
Mm-hmm.
Try to throw the great on the board, put greatness out there.
Yeah. And think about those things as far as wolves do. You know, it's like we really do. We screw with the fight phase. You know, it's like it's more of a counterpunch sometimes, but it doesn't feel like a counterpunch to your opponent because you're just not letting them do what you want. They're doing what you want. You control the fight phase, you know, even though it's not your turn. And when you build your units and you play your units, have those thoughts in mind, and it's, you know, just do what wolves do best. You know, and a good wolves player, you know, it's funny. I played meta shit. We all played Nids last year, except for Dear Scott, who held the faith.
Yeah.
But like, I was playing dudes with my Nids list where they would feel like they were in the game till turn 5 and I'd win. And I was so good with my wolves list, and I gave people more feel bads with my wolves list than I did with my Nids list. You know, just by knowing the book, knowing the tricks, knowing the ins and outs, and you'd play people like I call him Chaplain Leroy Jenkins. You know, now that we're getting into headquarters, you know, the chaplain where you're running Mechanical of Hate, Monstrous Strength, Relic Casarius. He's got Hunter and he's got Imperium Sword. You know, throwing that dude into Assault Doctrine, Chapter Mastering him. You know, and then letting him go roll up there with 7 attacks, hitting at Strength 8 with 4 damage each. You know, rolling everything, trying to get extra 6s, and I picked up a whole unit of Chaos Terminators with that dude once, and I just tilted the guy I was playing. And he's like, I didn't think that guy could do that. And I'm like, dude, it's like I wound up with like 16 hits because I rolled hot on 6s, just picking up everything that wasn't the 6 and re-rolling it, and and putting Savage Strike on him too on top of it, to where he's +1 to wound. So it's like, cool, you got your gym, but I'm still +1 to wound. So
Yeah.
But just do what wolves do, man. Just do what wolves do and have fun. Like, I think it's the time to do it. So
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here and bring up secondaries, because Codex Warfare got a huge boost, giving you 2 points per kill when you're in heavy doctrine with a heavy weapon. Huge buff to Iron Hands, doesn't help us at all unless you go heavy and heavy support and you stay in heavy doctrine the entire game and just put 1 unit into the assault doctrine every turn.
You could technically get 2 if you bring a Psyker, because you could do Instincts Awoken and then do the CB. So, but that's again too, is like if you're picking Warrior Pride, you probably need to have at least 2 going into Assault Doctrine.
I don't ever pick Warrior Pride because it forces me to charge when sometimes I might not want to, and sometimes it might be too risky.
Yeah, I'm stupid, Jamie. I do it all the time. So
You're a true Wolves player is what you are.
Yeah, when you wrote that in the chat last night, my brain kind of exploded because, I was like, I just tell my opponent I'm going to advance my doctrines every turn. You don't have to ask me about it. Just assume I'm in assault on turn 3. It's like, oh yeah, you could do that, and it could definitely work. I don't know if it's going to fit my play style. If I was going to go that route, I'd end up just playing Iron Wolves, if you will.
Yeah.
But the more I thought about it, you could definitely score those points pretty easily.
But it's no joke, right? If you're running your 3 long fang units with missile launchers, if you have your big Terminator brick with their 2 cyclone missile launchers, you're pumping out like 10 missile launcher shots a turn. You've got your Eliminators with the extra AP. You've got your Grav, your Eradicators. That's a serious amount of shooting with an extra point of AP. And Space will shoot well. With keen senses, the rerolls, Morkai Teeth Bolt, we shoot decently well. It's not nothing.
There's some validity, man, to just make that list go like all the heavy support you can and get as many rerolls to hit and wound that you can, just be efficient in Space Wolf shooting, and then have counter assault units. Literally just like they don't even have to be jump back. Then be like 3 Wolfen for your elite and just go, man, if you come to my lines, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah. The problem is everyone else shoots better than us, right? So like, is it worth it? Like, are you gonna win a shootout war? But you're not trying to win a shootout war. You're trying to kill 7 units. If you kill 7 units throughout the game, you score 14 points. And then you get a kill somewhere else and you get the 15.
Yeah, I definitely think it ends up being like what you were talking about earlier. So you max all the heavy stuff, then you bring the scouts and the speeders, and you're not trying to table your opponent. You're just going to score your
14 on 14 on Codex Warfare, 15 on behind enemy lines, and your 10 on either banners or 12 on rod. Like, it just doesn't make me very happy.
Warrior Pride, Jaime.
What GW needs to I'm gonna fail a 3-inch charge and I'm gonna call you. I'm like, this is your fault. I failed a 3-inch charge rerollable. I scored 0 on Warrior Pride.
I never listen to this fat old man, dude. I'll steer you wrong sometimes. So.
If GW changed Codex Warfare to give you 2 points in the assault doctrine, Marines would be completely fixed, because Iron Hands keep to benefit from all their heavy stuff, but not max out their secondaries. We have to survive until turn 3 to start scoring points. And most games are done by turn 3. Like Orks rush you, Blood Angels smack you around. Like, if you're playing turn 3 onwards, it's a tight game already, and it's a great boost. And it gives Ultramarines and Salamanders the option to move into Assault Doctrine if they need more points and lose their benefit.
That's a great suggestion.
GW never listens.
Yeah.
So
get GW.
I like
on
that
the line
idea.
here.
I like that idea. Yeah.
We can write him a letter, the 4 of us.
Okay.
GW actually saw the title of this.
The Wolf Council writes a letter to GW.
They're taking notes on like, oh yeah, that's what they want. Let's increase the points of Thunderhammers. Yeah.
Dude, that's better than getting day 1 DLC with that 8th edition codex. For those not watching the video, Scott just hung his head. So
here's your codex and here's your sheet of paper.
Yeah, here, download the shit and staple it in the next day. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think what was worse was like, here's Saga the Beast. And everyone's like, ooh, Ragnar's good. It's like COVID.
Oh
Yeah.
god, man, that was such a bummer.
Just no.
Dude, I want to play him so bad, but I can't get away from Whirlwind of Rage and Born Heroes.
Yeah,
so,
you
I
just
know.
can't beat the Build-A-Bear chapters right now.
You got.
All right, so headquarters guys, and
All right,
Jaime,
so-
I wanted to let you know real quick, we're way past your hour of talking shit about wolves, man.
How far
So-
in are we?
We're like an hour 20, man.
Oh, that's
So-
nothing. We have one more hour on characters. Come on, let's be realistic.
Characters are about to, anyone that's made it this far, you're about to get some like spice.
Yeah.
Right now.
All right, I wanna start with Scott, man, because we kind of talk more than Scott, but I'm gonna make him talk first. Let's hear what you're cooking character wise.
So characters, for me, I'm still going basically what I have in the past. It's gonna be the captain, loaded up with the melt-a-gun, captain on bike, I guess I'll say. Captain on bike, melt-a-gun, thunderhammer, armor of rust, hunter, rights of war. I think I got it all. He's the MVP. He does it all. And then the chaplain, I'm switching his litanies up. I'm giving him plus to charge just because you're going to end up with, for me, 6 jump troops. You want to buff those charges where you can. So he's going to switch to more of a support role as opposed to the slap chaplain. And then I just cut it off there. I typically like having another squad as opposed to another character. I know the librarians are really good. Mine sucks. He always perils. He always gets denied. Objectively, I understand why he's very strong, but mine is terrible, so I don't run him. So
Okay.
that's where I'm starting. And then the Judiciar, he's not an HQ, but he's my third character.
So why on bike versus jump pack or on a Thunderwolf?
21 inches, man. Can't beat it.
Yeah.
When you give him Hunter, he can zoom anywhere he wants to be. If he needs to buff this squad and then charge this squad, pivot from one side of the board to the other, you can, and you just can't beat the speed. The jump pack's only 12. That's why I think the bike wins. Even when he does have to go around a building, sometimes the extra movement, you got 8 extra inches compared to the jump pack. So
He's T5. I think
the
he's
extra,
like 5 or 10 points less.
10 points less and 6 wounds.
Like,
yeah.
I dig
and
it.
that base is like a weird base to where it's not like an outrider where it's awkward.
Yeah.
It's a small base.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's an awkward. So like he's easy to character. I love the captain on bike. He's easy to, even if you don't give him Hunter, like the walls were never an issue for me.
Really? Even like on GW terrain and that kind of stuff?
Never bothered me
Really?
because you can character block them so easy
And screens?
for
Like
For-
move blocking you.
he just, I don't know. I mean, the difference is that he moves naturally an extra 2 inches than the jump pack guy. And I just played around him instead of going through a building. I kind of lined him a little bit more on the flanks or just right down the middle of GW.
Yeah.
It's the,
Mm.
there's argument for both, but I like that he's 10 points cheaper. Because
On
I'm
that
like,
old school
every time I get
bike
to my
base.
list, I'm pulling my hair out of 10 for 10 points. I go, oh, put him on a bike.
Yeah.
Well,
At least for me,
that old school bike base is not any bigger than what a 32 is widthwise, so you can get it in there. Just tip. So,
The tip.
I always
He
lose
can
in that game.
He can heroic. Like he's like bobbing and weaving.
yeah. And at least for me, the way I play with my captain, he's almost always alive on turn 4, turn 5. So if he needs to jump across the board to take an objective at the end of the game, you never have to worry about the movement there. That's the biggest reason I like the bike.
I dig it.
Or
man.
1 inch advance on turn 5 and you're like, crap, I lost again.
Yeah. You don't gotta, no worrying about that roll.
All right, Hunter. I want to hear what you're doing character wise, man. What's your sauce?
I'm gonna be honest with you. Right now, my characters are where like I'm trying to really change my mindset. So I'm used to dumping like 5 CP, the 6 CP on characters. And I may reduce that back down. I may bring that back to just 2 or 3 to be honest, start the game with more CP right now. Because Space Wolves do have, I feel like in some games I needed CP. And I'm the Slaplin on bike we all know about with the double warlord trait. We talked about on the whole game. I think I'm going to reduce him to more of just a support role because I whiff on him bad. I've never. It always sounds good, like he's like Thor's hammer winding up the hit, and I whiff on wounds bad. Like I just can't wound with him.
The captain or the chaplain?
Chaplain. Always whiff. I just whiff with him. I'm like, oh, dude, he's gonna definitely kill this like 5-man intercessor unit that won't transhuman. No, he just for me never does. Like you might as well have a noodle. I get it that he should, but never for me. So I think I'm gonna make the chaplain honestly just a wise orator and just a support chaplain, and no relic, no nothing. Just go out there and give +2 to charge and give +1 wound or some other litany. Reroll hits, +1 to wound, something. Where I'm getting to is like the chapter master. I feel like he's needed, like he is my staple. I feel like you have to bring a chapter master with a thunder hammer and a combi melta, whether you put him on a bike or jump pack. I don't think you can go wrong. I think the relic I give him right now is Armor of Russ and maybe Rights of War for the warlord trait. Because I have stolen some objectives into the game, just this one guy, hopping off and taking it. If I want to give him 2 warlord traits, I can see putting Hunter and Rights of War on him. Because that's fun. But I mean, like you talk about Hunter, Rights of War, and what's it called? Armor of Rust. That's 4 CP on one guy.
Yep.
And that's a lot. That's a huge investment. And then my other thing is like a bare bones lieutenant. Just to get some reroll ones. So right now I've got one with a combi melta, power fist. If I am bringing the lieutenant, I like to kind of put the Armor of Rust on him to give him an invuln. But honestly, the lieutenant may come out of my list right now.
Yeah.
Just because that's another unit I could add somewhere else. And I'm trying to figure out, do I want more units or do I want more efficiency?
Yeah.
On my list is, do I make just one chapter master who I put all my CP and investments in, and a chaplain that's just, I'm not expecting much other than a buff from him and that's it? Or do I bring the lieutenant in for the reroll ones to wound or, which is nice. There's nothing
wrong with it.
Yeah, your shooting wants it. I know I talked in our group. There's actually, I like the Lieutenant Reaver just because you never know when that just sometimes the threat of that Vox Scream or whatever, or the Terror Troop, that's what it's called.
But 2 CP, man.
I know, I hear you, but I'm starting with 2 CP. He's just bare bones. I start the game with 2 and then go to 3 turn 1 most of the time.
How do you start on 2 CP?
I'm dumping 4 on the chapter master and that's it.
Oh, no more guys equal anywhere?
You got a lieutenant.
Well, I'll jump in real quick. Depending on where you play, FLG in their tournament FAQ said you don't need to spend a trophy bestowed and relic.
Yeah.
So that captain's only
Who said that?
FLG. At FLG events, he's only 3 CP. I know it varies from place to place, but the wording on relic and a trophy bestowed are almost identical. So I submitted the question and they said it's only 1 CP.
Yeah.
So ask your TO, but if it's FLG, you only got to pay 1.
Okay. As of today, of the recording of this event today.
Yeah, I need to ask WTC how they're gonna play it.
Yeah, for FLG, I think they put it in the SoCal one because that was the first big one I went to this year. So I wanted to ask.
It came up again this year, and they ruled it the same because I was in the judges' chat for that. So okay, I didn't want to scream I was biased as fuck, but
So that's funny.
But I think for me, it's either if I'm bringing a lieutenant, I'm going to put the Armor of Rust on him because he's more of a support role to help on the swing, and it gives him an invuln that he doesn't normally have. Or if that's the jump pack lieutenant. If he's a walking lieutenant, he hangs out with it's the Reaver guy that just kind of, if he gets there at the end of the game, you never know when you need it. Or just no lieutenant and another troop choice, elite, just more, that's 70 to, depending on your points, another unit.
Are you running your chaplain on foot or on bike?
On bike. And there's some validity. Talk about the jet. What's the points for the jump pack one? Is he?
I have to pull it up. Chaplain.
They're really close. I like the jump pack.
Chaplain.
Give him a melt gun.
Yeah, so it's 135 on bike versus 115 with jump pack. You can give a combi melter to the chaplain with jump pack, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if he's just going to stand there and throw out buffs, you might as well put another melta in. Why not? Let's have 35 in the list.
Because you didn't have enough.
There's nothing greater than like just a solo unit, just a solo character of how small their bases are, just like jumping next to someone's warlord and just be like,
yeah,
what if you eat a melta gun?
Yep.
I've won games and tournaments because I did that with scouts.
Oh yeah.
Speeder moves forward, they disembark 3 inches, move 6, advance D6, get closest to the character, 2 meltas with hitting on 4s with master artisans, dead chaplain for blood angels, that kind of stuff. Man, it's won me tournaments. It's so funny when you kill a character with a single melta shot.
Oh, it's the best.
So I think this weekend I'm gonna try it with just the 2 characters, all the CP on the chapter master. I may switch that chaplain to a jump pack 1 for more points, and just I want to see how much more can I put into a list. Just more. I'm going with the MSU style right now.
Yeah, I think Scott's right. I think the extra, I knew what you're saying with the extra 75 to 100 points that you're putting into that second character. I think it might be worth finding those points for units. I used to run either librarian for cover when we used to have armor of contempt because it made the dreadnoughts really tanky, or lieutenant if I have heavy weapons everywhere. But with Mordecai's Teeth Boy, it just might be enough, you know?
And I think we kind of hit the head on it earlier. You know, we said, look, a wolf guard battle leader is just as strong as a cat, like hits just as hard as that lieutenant does.
Yeah.
Thunderhammer, and he's cheaper. So
20 points versus 65. Yeah.
And maybe that's it. I just got to look at I got little lieutenants and everything. So,
yeah. Hunter, you used to run flamers on your Skyclaws, right?
Meltas. I had Meltas.
Who used to run flamers on their Skyclaws?
I never have.
I haven't either.
But
I'm just thinking about the meta, and like I'm thinking of like guard squads running around and demonettes everywhere. I'm trying to find shots in my list. So I really like your captain on bike, Scott, because if you give him a stormbolter instead of a combi melta, he's now 8 shots, right?
Yeah.
So just plinking around, the Primaris chaplain on bike is 4 shots, and then giving some flamers somewhere, but I can't really justify the flamers when meltas are free.
Aggressor flamers.
Have you had that much issues with like screening guys? I'm just thinking.
I played 0 games.
I'm just thinking you have so many jump troops that even like Skyclaws can jump over the screen, shoot the tank behind it, charge back into the screen if you need to.
The thing is to kill 10 demonettes, right? 10 demonettes are 1 wound each, 4 up invo. You need to cause 20 wounds, wounding on 3s even. You need to cause 30 hits to kill a 10-man demonette squad.
Well, depending on which buffs you put on it, Skyclaws can do that.
No, they won't get to 30 attacks.
Hitting on 2s with full rerolls and everything? I mean, just thinking I guess, I mean, you'd have to roll a little hot in the 6. It'd be close because you have 16, 12 chain swords, 4 fists, 4 hands. So it's 20 swings that are almost all going to hit and wound. So yeah, maybe a little bit short.
Maybe a little bit short. Yeah, I'm just thinking demonettes might be the biggest problem right now. But then guard might just wreck demonettes. You can run 9 mortars and but then they deep strike onto the table, so they won't get a shot. I don't know, man. I haven't played games, so I'm like theory crafting without even knowing what the playing field looks like. So I'm just running around in circles here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I just put
the only headquarters thing I hadn't heard you guys bring up is a librarian, and I dig having a Phobos librarian. Like for the points, you know, we talked earlier about like oaths. You know, he can be sneaky for oaths sometimes too, because you know you can kind of jungle warfare him wherever you need him sometimes, or in a pinch you can jungle warfare him out of stuff that he might be getting close to getting in the jam with, and having him be there to throw the ineligible to fight or shut down Overwatch is pretty solid.
Yeah.
And I also like the fact that you could put a unit into Assault Doctrine
Yeah.
without burden CP. You know, like Hunter mentioned earlier. You know, I was investing a lot of CP in characters and starting games with 0 CP or starting games with 1 CP, and it seemed like I always had like just enough to put a unit in Assault Doctrine, or I'd skimp on it and then have just enough to interrupt if I wanted to. And I think having that librarian with the instincts awoken, you know, allows me to save a little bit of CP to do some other stuff, and that's kind of why I really like mine being in the list. You know, I'm pretty generic. I run the captain, you know, variations like you guys talked about. I am going to play around with the bike though. I like what Scott said about it. Because I've been doing captain with the jump pack, but
So
I also like the chaplain, Primaris chaplain, because you know you can transhuman him when he needs it. He can be a beat stick if needed, or he can be a buffer if needed. I've been running him as a beat stick. I might play around and try using him as a buffing agent or a defensive agent and see what kind of success I have. You know, and then go back to Leroy Jenkins because it doesn't work out. But you know, at least give it a shot. So you know, but I've been most of the lists I've built have had, you know, the chapter master, the chaplain, and a librarian. So
yeah.
And I had one
Same.
list where it had them and the Judiciar, but you know that's Elite's choice. So as far as characters, but
I mean, I don't know. Just I think there's so many choices with those HQs. It's kind of going through them. I like the librarian and Phobos, and man, there's some cool things you could do with giving him the armor of Rust or the armor in Dominus, putting him in cover, and just that dude was just terrible to kill. And rights of war, he could like sit on an objective and be like, you can't shoot him. I really think if I was going to bring the librarian, I would do him for the fight last. Would be the big thing. Cover does sound good versus guard.
But cover gonna shoot you with really high AP and you don't care because you're gonna die, or mortars, you're gonna be right behind the wall and you're already gonna have a 2-up save. So does it matter?
Depends on how your TO rules that banner that they bring.
What banner?
Guard have a relic banner that ignore wound cap and modifiers, and there's a big debate on is the artillery that worsens your ballistic skill and armor, is that a modifier? It's the age-old question. What is a modifier? We don't know.
Yeah. Thank you, GW.
Can I just
No one
point out
knows.
something really sad here? We've been talking about HQs for 10 minutes or whatever,
Mhm.
and we play Space Wolves. We have the most named characters out of anybody. We haven't mentioned any of them. It's very sad.
And I know
leave that for the fluffy players.
Yeah, they even put Bjorn at like a 150.
Yeah.
I think
155, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was playing around with like maybe I could just. I'm like no.
Yeah,
Close.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, then Murderfang doesn't take a slot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
And-
stop
yeah,
it, Jaime. I know what you're trying to do.
I know.
So-
Murderfang Beyond, 3 Impulsors, 3 Redemptors, and 3 Venerable Dreadnoughts. I haven't built that list, I promise.
Yeah.
Make impulsors fly again.
Dude, yeah, you know, I don't know, a lot of them, dude. There's you know, Ragnar. I want to play Ragnar. You know, I want to play
My favorite model.
I want to play Ulrich. You know, I want to play Njal. I want to play them all, but it just I just think you get, like Scott said, the Build-A-Bear factions are where it's at, dude. And you just kind of to keep them in play, you got to do that. So yeah,
Look, I had some really fun firstborn lists like Drop Pod, Skyclaw Assault, and putting Uruk in there, and a librarian that put those like a 10-man Skyclaw unit or Skyclaw
Bloodclaw. Add Lucas the Trickster in there if
Oh,
you really
yeah.
want to mess around.
Oh yeah. And this is and you're gonna be, if I go first, you're in your deployment zone. I will burn CP and just throw, like, you know, does it hit? It doesn't hit hard enough. So
Yeah.
Well, there's our 5 minutes of fanboying out about the best characters in the game.
Yeah.
Nobody plays. So
I hope they do them justice next edition.
I hope so too, man. Because I see like these elf players. You know, these elf players get, you know, their Baharoths.
Oh,
You know,
man.
they're the Eldrads. They're, you know,
We'll get them.
whatever's, and it's like all mine are sitting in my display case by the house.
But that's because they get to put them in their custom chapters, right? Like, what the hell?
Oh yeah, they do. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I don't think about it until I'm on turn 4. I'm like, why'd you have like named characters in like your custom chapter? benefiting from the custom traits.
Yeah. Well, guys, I'm an old man and I'm running out of steam. So I would love it if we sat down and did this once a month or once every couple months if you guys are down to continue.
Oh yeah.
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 Look what I'm doing.
Someone does good with some
I'm building
wolves.
more lists right now.
Yes.
Let's bring in the Wolf Council and judge them.
Yeah.
We'll judge the best Space Wolf list and the worst list at
Ooh.
no, don't bring
Performance based or
the
what are we doing?
performance-based. Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to be playing any tournaments, man. I'm loaded up with school right now.
Yeah, it's fine. You can come be judging them.
I'll take
You've
my
earned your seat.
Jaime says that until it's go time. Then he's gonna be like, you know what? I can make this event.
Yeah.
I can skip class. I
can study between rounds. Like,
And then he'll win one and go, maybe I should get back into it.
Yeah.
Maybe I should.
Well, good deal, fellas. We covered a lot tonight, and I really appreciate your time. I'm gonna go once around the horn, and then we'll call it a night. Hunter, you got anything else you want to add? Got to promote, push out there, or whatever?
Oh man, just have fun with it. Space Wolves are in a good spot right now. I think don't stress out on a list. Try everything. Throw it against the wall and have fun. And if it doesn't work, try it again. And if it doesn't work, try not standing out in the open.
Good advice.
There you go. There's your coaching advice for me. But man, I hope to see anyone listening to this. Feel free to reach out to. I've had a lot of people reach out to me during the years of playing. You won't bother me. Come talk to me at an event. Reach out on Facebook. I love to talk space. This is one of the funnest podcasts just because we're talking about what we love.
Mm-hmm.
But reach out, man. And if you got questions, ask. And if you think you got something spicy, send it to me on that Facebook Messenger, man. I want to see it. Well, spicy Space Wolf related.
If you find some secret tech, basically let me know.
Please don't keep secrets, man. I think that's what makes our faction so great. Is like all of us are like, well, I'm not telling you my secrets, and then it's like, nah, let's win.
Yeah. I've never had, because I've hit all you guys up in one way, shape, or form over the past few years, and I've never had one of you guys go like, no, I'm not telling you that. I'm hiding. It's like these Space Wolves players are like, oh yeah, let's talk Space Wolves.
Exactly.
Yeah. Rumple, what you got, brother?
Just echo what Hunter said. Looking forward to the season. Really looking forward to the season, actually. My buddy's got a YouTube channel. I end up playing games on there sometimes, so you can see some more Space Wolf stuff there. It's barely battle ready on YouTube, up and coming. Check it out. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for having us, Bam.
No problem. Jaime, last words, man.
Absolutely, man. Supporting everything these guys have said. It's a really exciting time. There's tons of options, tons of flexibility. Just try everything. Go crazy. Because no one's going to be worried about wolves. Everyone's going to be focused on Iron Hands and Dark Angels. So you are going to catch some people off guard. So really enjoy it. I'm going to try and make some content for Tabletop Life. Brad's really busy with work, so I might be editing the video, so it might be trash. But I promise I'll try and get something out there. And obviously it'll be Space Wolves. And that's pretty much it. See you out there.
Good deal. Well, I wish all you guys a good season, happy hunting. And Jaime, if you're focused on school, dude, kick that ass, man. But let's do this again sometime next month, and
Absolutely.
Godspeed. So,
thanks, boys.
Thank you.
Cheers.